If you're old enough to remember when phones had cords and the only thing that went viral was a cold, then you're in the right place. Welcome to the Big 6-0 with Kayley Harris and Guy Rawlison. Because who better to discuss life's second act than two people who still think mature is a type of cheese?
Well, hi, everybody. This is Kayley Harris. If you haven't listened to us before, welcome to the Big 6-0 podcast. My partner in crime is Guy Rawlison, who was the vice school captain at our old primary school. So we're going back a very long time. How are you?
Yeah, I've still got this PTSD about not having my name up on the honour board at school.
Yeah. See, they only put the captain and the boy captain and the girl captain.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, and you didn't make it, did you?
Look.
Are you on any other honour boards anywhere else in the world?
Yes, I am.
Are you?
Yes, I am. I'm on an honour board at the in Sydney at Blacktown Swimming Centre.
Get out.
Yeah, they did a thing where you had to swim 100 kilometres.
Yeah.
And they put a big honour board up there.
And you swam 100 kilometres?
Not in one go.
Oh my god.
You could do it in like 2 and 5 and 10 kilometre stretches at a time.
But in the same day?
No, God, I'm not Des Renford or Susie Maroney. So you could pick
I can
your
see
time.
your likeness. Yeah, go on.
It's the whale fat, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's the whale fat on me. No, you could pick your time, but you had to do 100 kilometres, and you got a T-shirt out of it or something. But it was to encourage you to get a little bit of fitness going, all that sort of thing. And after 100 Ks, you think, yeah, okay.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'm on that honour board.
That is fantastic.
Yeah, they spelled my name incorrectly, so they put it up twice. So someone will think, my gosh, he's done 200 kilometres.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
Wow, how good.
That's it.
So let me tell you about, if you haven't heard us before, the Big 6-0 podcast is for people who are kind of in the zone of around 60, maybe you're younger, maybe you're older, who cares, but Guy and I basically are, so that's why it's all about us. So in this episode, we thought we might try something different. Before we get to the questions, so I want to explain, we're broadcasting from the Bella Vista Hotel in northwestern Sydney.
Yeah, thanks to the management there.
Yeah, so it's
nice
a pub, and they have, I think it's a really good marketing tool. They have set aside a room that's a podcast room that people can rent for free, which is just amazing. So we thought we'll give it a go and see what it's like, and here we are. So
nice environs. The artwork is a little urban, little
funky. Yeah. And the best thing is we can get a wine halfway through.
Yeah. I'm pretty happy about that.
Yep. All good. So this week on the Big 6-0 podcast, we're going to try something different. It's called 10 questions. So we're going to ask each other one for one question about ourselves, and they're questions without notice. So Guy has no idea what I'm going to ask him. I have no idea what he's going to ask me. So it'll either be gold or it'll never see the light of day.
It could be debaucherous, couldn't
it? That's right. It could go south.
There could be a lot of expletives. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm a little nervous.
You could learn too much about us.
I'm a little nervous.
You should be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Who's starting?
I think you should kick off.
Okay. All right. Okay, here's your first question. What is the one thing people misunderstand about you?
One thing.
Yeah. We've only got half an hour.
I would say that people have said to me I come off as a bit standoffish as far as being approachable.
Oh.
Yeah. A number of people have said, I don't know whether I could actually just go up and sort of speak to you about something or whatever. And I think that's completely opposite and contrary to how I am.
Yeah, that's not the person that I know.
No.
You come across to me as really warm.
Well, thank you.
That's all right.
But a number of people have said to me, a little intimidated.
Really?
So I don't know why.
Yeah, wow.
So, but more than one occasion, particularly in a work environment, maybe it was that work environment that gave off that vibe. But yeah,
maybe you're very serious in the work environment because I haven't seen you in that environment.
Yeah, it could be that.
Yeah.
It could be that. But yeah, that's probably the one thing that sort of just keeps
coming back at you,
hitting me in the face, hitting me in the face. So there you go.
There you go.
Honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
People come up and say hello to me, but yeah.
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 Okay, what have you got for me?
Now, if you could have had one job, and you had a big career in the media and radio, if there was one job you secretly wanted to try, but you didn't, what would it be?
An airline hostie. Does that surprise you?
No, you
Yeah,
could
well,
have been a great host.
I would have loved that. And my mum was an airline hostie for TAA back in the 50s when they were flying the old DC-3.
TAA.
Yep.
The friendly way.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. And women, you couldn't be a hostie if you were married. So mum was a hostie for about 12 months, and then my dad proposed, and then she had to leave the job, which is extraordinary when you think about it. And I always wanted to do. I had that bug of, wanting to do flights and go long haul and see the world and be that person.
And that was the thing. If you were married, you couldn't be
no,
a hostie.
not in the 50s. No.
Wow, how things have changed.
Yeah, and TAA went on to be bought by Qantas. So, but yeah, I've got some amazing pics of my mum looking very glamorous in the 50s with her uniform on and looking quite the fashion plate. So, I did actually try to get into Qantas in I think it was like late 80s, and I didn't make the cut.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Was it the blowing the whistle and the fluoro vest or
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, it was. Everyone was trying to get into the airlines then in the late 80s.
Yeah.
Because of course you get free or very heavily discounted travel. But I didn't get in for some reason. But then I went on to bigger and better things in radio. So there's a reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another door opened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Wow. Okay. Number 2.
Okay, number 2. When was the last time you cried and why?
Rom-coms are allowed in this.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Look, I don't know. I'm quite an emotional sort of guy, really. And I don't know why. Rom-coms will do it for me if it's something that's really close to you that you think,
Hits home a little bit.
if it hits home a lot. I mean, a lot of people, if there's, it may be a personal sort of reason, but if something is really close to home, and it might be someone you care for, probably the other day actually, it was something that I thought, this is affecting someone in my world, and it took me to flashbacks of, my parents when there was something that I couldn't do for them.
You couldn't fix.
Yeah, and this isn't necessarily something that can't be fixed, but this is something that I thought, my gosh.
So was it something you saw in a rom-com, or it was a real?
No,
was it a real life thing?
This is a real life thing. Yeah.
Okay.
And I thought, my gosh, and it takes you back to that moment, and whether that's how rom-coms work as well, like it takes you back to a time or a situation,
Or hits a nerve somehow.
Hits a nerve. Yeah, I don't know, but yeah, it was probably only a few days ago.
Yeah, wow.
So, and it was something that was out of my hands that I could not do, and it took me to another
and
place.
did you go the big cry, or did you just well up a bit?
No, just well up a bit.
Yeah.
Just well up a
Yeah,
bit.
you can't stop it, can you?
You
when
can't.
you
No.
get emotional, you can't stop it from.
No. And I understand there's things like there may be certain situations, whether it's, it might be a funeral or it might be,
Yeah.
the passing of a pet or something like that. But yeah, wow, there you go.
There you go.
Wow.
Good on you for fessing up.
Getting deep here. We're only into 2. My gosh. If we talk a lot about 70s and 80s and 60s and all that sort of thing, if your life was a TV series from the 70s or 80s, what would it be? What would be the storyline, and would it have a theme song?
Oh my gosh. It would probably be pretty dark. Yes, it would definitely have a theme song. I'd make sure of that, but I don't know how that would. Something really jingly, like, we talked about this before, like Gilligan's Island or the Brady Bunch. But yeah, I think it would if it followed my family, it would be pretty dark, because we had some mental health issues in my family with someone in my house, and so it would be probably that.
It would be a drama. It wouldn't be a Good Times.
No, it wouldn't be a Good Times. It would be, I'm just trying to think of something back from the 70s or 80s that was dark. Don't know.
Yeah. good question.
Yeah, great question.
Yeah, I often think about things like Hill Street Blues, which always had a very dark undertone to things,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
different, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I wish I could say Starsky and Hutch or something, but I can't.
Wow, good
No.
answer.
Sorry, that's a really crappy answer, isn't it?
No, that's a great answer. That's an insight. It's an insight.
Okay, all right, let's give you your next question. What do you find unforgivable, if anything?
From people that you know, or just generally?
Just, I guess, from people, because you're not going to find things without people unforgivable.
Yeah, unforgivable. I think if anything that involves kids, I think that's probably really deep. I think anything that involves harming of kids or the emotional sort of side of kids, and as far as, these are little ones that just don't know, and they're trusting in the world, and I can't see past those sort of things.
So you don't subscribe to the theory that everything is forgivable, I guess, coming from a Christian background?
There's always the forgive but don't forget sort of side of things, right? But when it involves little ones, I think, I mean, the severity of it is...
That's a bridge too far.
Yeah, it's a bridge too far for sure. But that's definitely something that anywhere or anyone that is, innocent of situations or circumstances.
What about like betrayal of a friendship or something like that?
Yeah, look,
Or someone close?
I think so, but there's always redemption, I think, with that, because it's personally, I can sort of almost see that. It depends on the betrayal, I guess, for sure, and the severity of that, and invariably, look, that's something that you can sometimes work through, but. Yeah, I'd probably put that on that next tier, but certainly with little kids and things like that, it would be
I'm
very
with you
hard.
on the little kids, but anyone who's vulnerable, like little kids, animals, elderly, disabled, those sorts of things. Yeah.
Yep, sure.
Okay.
Sure. We are getting way too deep on this, aren't we?
No, that's a good thing.
That is a
We're
good
learning
thing.
about each other.
We are. Go back to your 20s, okay?
Yeah.
What's the one piece of advice from your 20s that turned out so wrong?
Oh my goodness. I had something in mind then for being so right, but so wrong. That's a great question. One bit of advice I got that was, I feel like there's plenty there, but I can't recall them to mind. I don't know. I can't.
Was this a good idea, this 10 questions things right now?
Gosh, you know what? I'll wake up tomorrow morning at 2 a.m. and think that that's it. That's what I wanted to say. I don't know. I can't think.
There you go. Maybe you just got a lot of good advice.
Yeah, I'm sure it was. If we're going back to my 20s, in the 80s and 90s, I don't think it was all good advice.
Well, maybe the good advice outweighed the bad advice, and we'll just leave it at that, hey?
Okay. I think we might have to.
Okay.
If I think of anything, I'll let you know. Do you like to be alone?
Yes, I really do. I love being around people. I can't be on my lonesome for way too long, but you need thinking time, and you need those quiet moments to sort of do those things that you need to do. And I think we all need a little bit of us time where you have that download, because you get a lot of PTSD if you're around people 24/7.
Has that changed? Has your desire to be alone or enjoying being alone changed over the years with age? Or were you always that way?
Probably. I've always liked being with people, but it sort of takes you back to sometimes being 4 or 5, where you'd like to be able to just have that. Not that you're at 61, that you have that imagination time where you actually go into your own little world as a 4-year-old or a 5-year-old, and you're doing this. At a certain age, you go back into your own little world, and you sort of ruminate about what may have been happening that day or where you need to go with things. But as a rule, whether it's reading or just listening to music, I just like to have that downtime, even if it's only an hour or two.
It's interesting because when you're a teenager, that's the last thing you want. You just want to fit in, right?
Yeah.
You want to do what all the cool kids are doing.
Yeah, that's right. And I guess, when you look at today, social media, everyone wants to know where everyone is at any given time of the day. Whereas when we were young, of course, you needed to escape mum and dad or whatever. And so I think more so today we like to have our own little bit of time. I don't know. Yeah. But, I'd like to have a little bit more time to myself sometimes.
Okay.
Especially when grandkids are involved and you need to get just 2 minutes away from them.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, there you go.
Good.
There you go. Now, I'm going to go back into your radio days, the halcyon days of Hans and Kayley. Okay.
Uh-oh.
Okay. What was the most embarrassing on-air moment that you had? And did you survive it with any amount of dignity?
I said... So one day I went into work and I had quite a bad headache. And, we were doing breakfast, so it was very early in the morning. So when I got in there at 4, I had a couple of Panadol, and the show started at 5. By 6 o'clock, I still had this really bad headache. So somebody at work gave me something considerably stronger. I think it was like Panadine Forte or something with codeine in it. And so by about 6:30, I was off my face. I was not making much sense, and I was really weird. And I said on air, Hans said to me, "Are you okay?" And I said, I don't think so. After that medication you gave me, I said, I feel dumber than I normally am. and that got a bit of a reaction. So I was like, did I actually say that on the radio?
It was only Panadine Forte or something, wasn't it?
Something like that, yeah. And I was, you go a bit silly, with, especially at that time of the morning when you've been up and haven't had much sleep. And
no, I don't want to know what it's like to be up at that time of the morning with too much Panadine Forte in my system,
and
being the very public face of probably Sydney's most popular radio station at that particular time.
Yeah, that kind of stands out in my mind, just saying that. But,
wow.
Yeah. Okay. There you go.
Okay. Let's get back into it. I can't wait for what's next. Oh, my gosh.
Okay, here we go. Don't read into this too much, okay? What's your favourite thing about being a man?
That is a good one. The favourite thing about being a man.
Because I guess we're in a time when genders are can be fluid.
They're fluid.
Yeah, you can be whatever you want, and that's great. So, but what's your favourite thing about being the sex that you are?
If you had have asked me that when I was probably 12, I would have said, because you got to ask a girl to dance at a school dance or something at primary school, because that's what a boy would do. Because you had all those roles, didn't you, as a boy or a man, which have changed now.
But you weren't intimidated by asking a girl to dance?
Kidding me? Like the ones you really wanted to ask to dance, you were intimidated by, but there was always ways around. But as a man, the one thing I really like, very vanilla answer, but the one thing I like about is the blokey connections that you've had either growing up or through sport, where you can have that bonding time as just blokes, whether it's around a barbecue or any of those sort of things, where you just have that escape and you can just talk blokey stuff. And that's changed. That's changed over more recent times.
Do you talk blokey stuff? What do blokes talk about other than sport?
Well, if I told you that, it wouldn't be blokey, would
that's true.
Yeah. It's sort of a secret men's
business.
But it's changed. I will say it's changed. There was a time, even 10 years ago, where blokes, blokes wouldn't put an arm around each other and say, mate, just talk to me about it. And that's changed now. And whether that's an age thing or whether that's now just society, but that blokey conversation has expanded to where if you are having some problems or you've got concerns about something, blokes are just, in the main, are just more open to that sort of thing. So, the one thing I do like about being a fella is being able to just talk to other fellas now, and also having those shared experiences as blokes that are around the same age where you can say, remember this, remember that. And
do blokes talk about sex and relationships when they talk to each other? That's the obvious question, because girls do. Yeah. But, just to make sure you're normal.
To a point, probably different conversations.
Okay.
Probably different conversations. I think at a certain age too, if there's a so-called medical situation.
Okay.
Blokes will quite happily talk about that.
That's great.
But I think more personal side of things, talking about your partner or whatever, no, not really. I don't think we've evolved as much as women have to that extent.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think broad brush, just that blokey time that I enjoy being able to talk and feeling comfortable in my own skin.
That's great.
And the people that you're speaking with.
That's great.
Wow.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Good on you.
Aren't
Look
we
at
gonna-
you.
Aren't we going to get an easy one yet?
No, they're pretty deep, aren't they?
Is anyone still listening right about now?
I hope so.
All right, I've got one for you.
Yeah.
What's the one thing that you do that drives you crazy, but you still do it?
Talk to myself and to the cats. I'll talk to myself, and I promised myself when I was younger I wouldn't do this. My mother did it, and I'll often talk to myself. But I have conversations with the cats. I don't want to be that crazy cat woman, but I think I am. But not only will I have conversations, I answer for them.
Did they talk back to you?
No.
Oh, God.
No, I'll say to them, what are you doing? And then I'll reply to myself and I'll go, well, Grandma, because I'm Grandma now, well, Grandma, I'm waiting for you to feed me. Well, and then Kayley will say, well, I'm not going to feed you yet. And then the cat's looking up at me and I'll go, oh, I just have this dialogue where I answer for them. And I think that's really weird.
Well, hang on. You were in at our place the other day.
Yeah.
And you probably heard me talking to the Labrador too. I don't know.
Yes, I did.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
But I think talking to them is fine, but answering for them, I think that's kind of a bit weird. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
All right.
when I catch myself doing it, I'm going, oh my God, you're talking to the cat again.
I'm not going to hold that against you.
Thank you.
That's okay.
What is your definition of healthy?
Healthy. At a certain age,
I'm not just talking physical.
that changes. Healthy. I think if you can have a quality of life that you want to have, and by that I mean emotionally, you can have those conversations with people. You have a healthy relationship with either your kids, your friends, your immediate family. You're feeling relatively good in yourself. We always think, oh, I need to lose a bit of weight, or I need to do this, or I need to do that. So long as you're not that doesn't weigh you down, as bad pun, I know. But I think if you have an emotional say in your own well-being, that you're relatively
At peace?
at peace.
Is that a good way to say it? Yeah, you're not at war with anyone.
Yeah, if you're active, you're not sitting behind a screen all day, you're getting out, you're enjoying a bit of blue sky, those sort of things. I think just a healthy demeanour, if you're looking after yourself and doing the best you can.
Yeah.
Yeah, and at a point in your life that you've got people around you that you can rely on,
Yeah.
and you feel good about that.
Yeah.
I think
Healthy emotionally, physically, mentally.
That whole holistic sort of outlook these days. Ask me that 20 years ago and I would have said, yeah, if you're going down to the gym, you're doing a mini triathlon here and you're on the bike and you're doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it changes as you get older, doesn't
And
it?
I think it's so much more than just physical health. I think now, am I financially healthy? Am I spiritually healthy? Those sorts of things that we don't really pay attention to usually, but as I've gotten older, they're more important.
Yeah. Oh, I'm still waiting for that easy one. Hey, listen, is there something you've done once that you'd never do again?
Jump out of an aeroplane.
You've jumped out of a plane.
Yeah. So I did I always wanted to do it. I only ever wanted to do it once. I had no desire to take it up as a sport, but I thought I want to know what it feels like to jump out of an aeroplane. Because I've got a fear of flying, which sounds really weird, but I used to...
wanted to be a hostess.
I know, right? I used to have a fear of flying, and I think being a hostie was a way to confront that.
Until there were claw marks on the inside of the plane,
yes.
let me out of here.
The hostie's screaming up and down the aisle.
That's it.
Yeah. So for my 21st birthday, I bought myself a tandem parachute jump, which I did, and I jumped at 10,000 feet strapped to an instructor.
Thank God it was an instructor
God.
and not another person that just bought a gift certificate.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And it was one of the most incredible things I've ever done. I'm so glad I did it, but only ever wanted to do it once. I have no desire to do it again.
Wow.
Yeah.
How long did it take you to get the nerve to do that?
Once I committed to it and said, this is what I'm going to do, I was fine. And interestingly, you'll find with parachute jumps that they say, and it's true, if you're going to back out, you back out on the ground. You don't back out once you get in the aircraft and the aircraft takes off. You kind of mentally, it's very rare for someone to back out at that point. You back out before you actually even get into the plane. So once I got up there, I'm like, okay, I'm jumping out of this thing.
Wow.
And it was extraordinary.
I would love to do that and just haven't done it.
Yeah. A lot of people say that.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people say I'd love to do it and for whatever reason haven't. But I also figured that if I did take it up as a sport, the more I did it, the more the risk rose that something would go wrong. But I thought, what are the chances of something going wrong if I'm strapped to an instructor? I do it once. You'd have to be pretty unlucky.
Yeah. But as far as unlucky goes, that's fairly extreme, isn't it? It's not like I fell down the stairs.
Yeah.
I've fallen from 10,000 feet.
Yeah, there's no coming back from that.
There's no a bit of thinking time involved in that one.
Yeah. Okay. Alrighty. If you could time travel, when would you like to go back to?
In my lifetime or anywhere?
Any time in the history of the world.
Oh, good question. Oh.
Is there a few options popping up?
Too hard. This is very Michael J. Fox getting to the DeLorean.
That's why I'm asking it.
Gosh.
And put aside things like medical advances and things like that, because that's one thing you think about going back in time. We didn't have the... But if that was not an issue, is there some time that you...
Yeah, I don't know whether I'd go back to a time. I'd love to go back to a number of events, though.
Yeah, okay.
And position yourself in those events that are just a mystery to the world. Like, you'd love to be at the JFK assassination and say, I got the answer.
Dark.
Yeah. You'd love to, all those sort of things. You'd love to go back to key events and say things. I mean, or see things, rather. Would you like to be able to go back and see yourself being born and your own growing up?
I would love to see that.
Yeah, and just watch yourself through those formative years and think, oh my gosh, those recollections that I've got of myself aren't really true because, I imagined what it was like, but that's not reality. Wow, as for a time, I don't know. I mean, you'd love to go back to... whether it's prehistoric times or whether you'd like to go back to, the 20s when it was all that sort of,
Prohibition and all that
sort of
thing.
and see what life was like through the Depression. But as an observer, whether I could actually, too hard a question.
That's a good question, eh?
That's a great question. Gosh. Where would you go back to?
I'd love to go back to the Wild West and be one of those like girls that had big fluffy dresses but had a bit of attitude as well, and when girls were really girls, and
you can do all that now.
And cowboys, I love that kind of stuff.
You can do that now. You can wear a big fluffy dress and have attitude, and you can do that now.
No, I'd look like an idiot.
It would be if you had holsters and 6 guns on the side, I guess.
I don't want to go back to the Depression or any of the wars or anything like that. Maybe the 60s. I mean, I was born in the 60s, but I mean, if I could be a little bit older in the 60s when the world changed so much in the 60s, and we've talked about this.
Yeah. Wow. No. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Good answer, but not from me.
Alrighty.
What personality trait do you have that drives your family crazy?
Oh, wow. Okay.
Other than talking to cats and expecting some sort of response.
Yeah. When I play board games, I'm really annoying, particularly with Monopoly. And I've been told this before. My friends have actually got up and left the game because I start winning and then I start rubbing it in. And
what is it about Monopoly?
I don't know what it is. And I'd be like, ha, 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 I've got that property. And I would rub it in when I had loads of money and heaps of properties and houses and stuff. And I remember this one time, I thought we were just having fun. But 2 of my girlfriends got up and left the table and said, you're just so annoying. You're just rubbing it in.
How long ago was this?
This would have been when I was in my 20s.
Right, okay.
And I was like, hang on a minute, are you guys serious? They're like, no, we don't want to play with you anymore. It's not fun. And I was mortified because I thought, wow, I'm being that person. So I can be a bit of a, I can offer, the other thing is like offer advice when it's not asked for. I'm not an I told you so. I don't never do that, I don't think. But I want to tell particularly my children a bit of advice.
Sure.
And they don't always ask for it.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Unless it's about Monopoly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Were you the dog or the boot or the...
I couldn't be the dog. My sister had to be the dog. She wouldn't let me be the dog.
Right.
I was either the thimble or the boot.
Right. I had to
Right.
be the dog. Sorry.
Did you? Yeah. Well, I can see that you're an alpha then.
Yeah.
Because
Really?
whoever was the stronger personality always got the dog.
Is that right?
I think so.
Wow.
Yeah. My sister wouldn't let
and
me
you
have it.
weren't allowed but you rub it into the other players and
Especially if I was winning.
you weren't the alpha. You had the boot.
I must have been.
You must have been.
Yeah.
You were so alpha that
I
you could
was.
actually... Yeah, okay.
I'm sorry, Catherine and Sue, about that. Never forget that. I wonder if they... Oh, God. Okay.
Let's move on.
Okay. What secret have you never shared with anyone? Come on, you've got to tell the whole audience now.
What secret have I never shared with anyone?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I have a terrible conscience. So I share most things. Oh.
Is there
my
anything that you feel
gosh.
comfortable sharing with us today? That,
If I could think of something that's
Yeah.
a secret that I haven't shared with anyone, I feel as though I've shared almost everything, and I say almost everything, and
Yeah.
everyone will say, "Well, hang on, what's the
Yeah,
thing
yeah.
that you haven't?" I can't honestly think of anything that I haven't
That's okay.
shared with anyone, but. Yeah, 2:00 tomorrow morning, I will think
Yeah,
of that
there you
thing,
go. There you
and there
go.
will be an addendum, an asterisk next to everything saying, "Oh, have a look at that next episode where Guy will actually say, oh my gosh, forgot to mention the JFK assassination."
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
No, that's great because it also hopefully gives our listeners something to think about. You know, maybe they've got something they've never shared that they want to share with us.
Wow, you're
Yeah.
digging deep on these.
We've got time for one more question each.
All right, okay. As a kid, or even now, what's something that you believed for way too long?
Oh my goodness. The only thing that comes to mind is misheard lyrics.
So it wasn't Santa.
And we're going to do
It
an
was-
episode on that.
Oh, yes, we are.
Yeah. So
Misheard lyrics.
I believe for so long that I was singing the right thing and I wasn't. But in terms of, Santa, no, I can't think of anything.
There you go. Misheard lyrics. That's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, you got a favourite misheard lyric?
Yeah, Top Gun, Danger Zone. I've been singing I Went to the Danger Zone since 1986, and it's Highway to the Danger Zone.
Right.
And it wasn't until I was singing it really loud one day and a friend went, "What are you singing?" And I said, "I went to the danger zone, right into the danger zone." And he's like, "It's Highway to the Danger Zone." And I said, "What? No, it's not."
I like your version.
And I had to go back and have a look at the lyrics. I looked it up online. I went, "Oh my God, I've been singing this wrong." And it's one of my favourite songs.
Well, so long as you do it with gusto and a little bit of belief,
Yeah, that's right.
yeah, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Doesn't count.
Yep.
Nope, tick. Okay.
Yep.
All right, one more.
One more. What's your earliest memory?
This morning, are you talking? No. No? My earliest memory.
Of a young guy.
My that's a toughie. There's a wad of them. I don't know what's the collective term for memories. A wad of memories.
Wad sounds fine.
a
Just
wad?
pick one.
Pick one.
Pick one. Do you remember having your nappy changed or anything like that?
Yeah, that's
or-
more recent. My earliest memory would probably be where I got in trouble.
Yeah.
It's not a bad memory.
How old were you?
I would have been probably 3,
Okay.
and we were living at Parramatta in Sydney, and I thought I would do the right thing and go and collect the milk for Mum and Dad because the milkman would come and leave the glass bottle of milk on the front porch, and so I wandered. I unlocked the door, or the door might have been unlocked, and I went out and got the milk and dropped the bottle and it was just glass and milk
Oh, no.
everywhere. I don't remember really getting into too much strife because I think I was trying to do a good thing and my parents probably saw that.
Yeah.
But I do remember, I think the dad probably got in trouble because thinking, what were you doing leaving the front door open for a 3-year-old to be able to wander out?
Yeah.
But
that's amazing
yeah.
to be 3 and remember that.
Yeah, so many memories. And I only date that because I know when we moved from the house at Parramatta to Epping, we moved after that. And I know I was 4 when we moved to Epping. So I know a lot of those early memories.
Yeah.
Another one, there was a kid 2 doors down, which I thought was amazing. And we used to, his name was Matthew. If you ever used to live in Buller Street at Parramatta and you're listening, and we used to just get our little scooters and ride to each other's house, but we used to think it was so far away to be able to go 2 houses down and up to the end of the corner. But that was probably dropping the milk bottle. And
wow.
It would have been about 3.
Yeah, that's great recall.
There you go.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
This has been so much fun. We'll have to do it again.
Oh
yeah.
Yeah.
We might. Yeah.
I think I'm going to have to go and think about that secret that I've never told anyone.
Yeah. And I've got to think about the worst advice.
Yeah. And we can both go away.
Yep.
And sort of do a few misheard lyrics and just sing into the... What is it? Into the danger zone? What was it?
Highway to the danger zone.
Highway to the danger zone.
Yeah. To me, I went to the danger zone sounds much better. But be listening because in future we're going to do a whole misheard lyrics.
Well, why don't we both go to the danger zone and I'll catch you another time.
Good on you.
Okay. See you later.
Cheers.
Bye.
The views and opinions expressed on the Big 6-0 are personal and reflect those of the hosts and guests. They do not represent the views or positions of any affiliated organisations or companies. This podcast is intended for informational and entertainment purposes only and should not be construed as professional advice. Please consult with a qualified professional for guidance on any personal matters.
Oh, and before we go, let's give credit where credit is due. Kayley Harris and I came up with all the genius content for this week's episode. Our producer, Nick Abood, well, he keeps the lights on and makes sure we don't accidentally upload a cat video instead of a podcast. So thanks for keeping us on track, Nick. Nick?